The time is now 5:47 and the date is Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. Megan and Jada are both attending virtually. I will now open the meeting and take a roll call. Jada,
Aye.
Keith,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Lauren.
Aye.
Right, Megan is an aye. Please note we are doing a virtual hybrid meeting. If a member of the virtual public would like to make comments during the public hearing, please use the raise hand function on Zoom and you will be assigned a speaking time. If you are listening in via telephone dial-in, press star 9 to raise your hand and then press star 6 to unmute yourself. This meeting is being recorded by the local scene and a record of this meeting will be posted on the local scene website as soon as they are able. Anyone intending to make an audio or video recording of this meeting should notify the chair at this time. And none of that. Business, the first update would be an agent update on projects needing attention.
Um, so I would say we don't have a ton of updates. Obviously everything is still super buried. Matt and I were supposed to go out last month with Eversource to go to, what was it, Tree Farm Landing?
Yeah.
We were supposed to get out there on February 12th, but obviously that did not happen. So we have postponed that site visit for when things are a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no major updates on our end.
I got a weird question.
Yeah.
Do you think they'd ever plow some of the conservation parking lots?
I don't know. I know that obviously Matt has been sort of cautious about asking
Yeah,
them to do any additional plowing.
right.
Right now, yeah, like obviously they were so overwhelmed. So we don't really feel like we can ask any more of them. Have any of them been plowed from what anyone's noticed?
I don't, none of them have. None of the ones that I've noticed have been cleared. I just didn't know if Matt had ever heard that's like a no-go ever, or just, I get it, why he wouldn't want to ask, and I know that there's no
Oh
rules,
yeah,
but it was a thought we had.
sure. I can at least check with him and see what he says.
I ask if there's like priority properties for that because I mean when you have 3 feet of snow out there anyways, it's probably no
Yeah.
point in clearing because something you can do once you get in.
Right.
But we don't necessarily want to encourage snowmobilers either.
Sure.
Although they probably can do minimal damage when the snow like this, but uh, you know, they're not really equipped to do these little turn off parking lots and all that. The
Right.
bigger trucks, they might do more damage than it's worth. If they get like a Bobcat type machine, which is a discussion about that in my other committee at some point, getting something like that, they potentially could, but I would doubt they would have to trail it around, which I mean, probably sending out 2 employees. I don't
Yeah.
know if they would do that for every property that had an entry or a parking lot.
Mhm.
Actually, you could probably get into Camp Nikon. That's about it.
Okay.
Well, Bay Farm, although I don't know if Duxbury handles the parking lot entirely on their own.
Right. I haven't
And
looked
then
at
maybe
their.
Blackwater.
No, that is under a whole bunch of snow.
You can get into Cranberry from the middles or the
Yeah, and they plow that, yeah.
it's cool. I've
Okay.
done that to snowshoe before.
Yeah. And that's actually good because that's probably a place where if you were a cross-country skier,
There's a lot of
that'd be a good
cross-country skiers
opportunity
in there.
as well.
Yeah, you see a lot of trucks coming from the school there.
That's great.
Pathway's too
All right.
long of a drive and it's easements and it's,
Yeah, that's
once you get to where you park, it's probably too rough to do any kind of work. And I'm not sure some of the ground leading up to it's stable enough for that kind of equipment.
yeah.
All right. It was a thought.
Yeah, I will definitely at least check. I think it's something that probably nobody's thinking about right now, at least.
Right.
So we might as well ask.
Right. But if we know that there's a few accessible, then we can always suggest that people go there if they bring it up as an issue. Say those ones aren't, but these ones are kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a list of-
The
add it
next
to the
action
spreadsheet.
item would be trail mapping and connectivity.
Right.
Keith, I did read over your thing. That looks great.
Yeah, that was
If
very
you
good.
want to go into that, that'd be fine.
Yeah, well, do we want to distribute the
Yes.
materials?
Yeah, so
Very.
yes, I created the maps today.
Thank you.
So we can start talking about connectivity. Megan and Jada, there also is like PDFs on OneDrive. I was also planning on just like sharing my screen during this. So like as we're pointing out things in
Yeah.
person. If you also want to pull it up on your own, I have them. So there's one map showing different like open space parcel ownership, as well as the sort of like status of trail mapping. Because obviously, if we're going to plan trail connectivity, we need to know where the trails are. And so this one is that, so it has properties color coded by ownership, and then there's points on each of the Kingston conservation property things, which data Matt and I do or do not have.
There should
Oh, hold on, there's 2 sheets
Are
here.
there two? Okay, thanks.
Okay. And then this one, I
Oh, that's
printed
good.
more for some reason. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah, this is amazing.
I love to make maps.
Yeah. Good at it.
Yeah. And then I also have printed out the Lexington, the across Lexington map that Heath had sent. And then you guys get a lot of items to take home today.
I'll try to swing by and grab either paper copies or I'll just grab them from you at conservation at some
Yeah.
point.
Definitely. Whichever is easier. I
Right.
have them. And then here's also, I just printed out, this is a map from our open space brochure that also shows some of the open space properties, just like a little bit cleaner with less information. Oh, yeah. And so then the other map is a sort of simplified version showing all the different parcel ownership and then also including what trail maps we have. A lot of the properties do have the Kingston conservation properties have established trail system, but we just don't have like GPS mapped trails yet. So something to probably think about and work on for the spring might be filling in those maps a little bit more conclusively.
I think that would be a fun field trip opportunity.
Right?
I mean, just even if we just each took one or something and did a walk around.
Yeah, so I'll just give a summary. Brian didn't get a chance to look deep into the stuff in the email and just to bring everyone up to speed. Some years ago, a bunch of years now, I lived up in Waltham. My wife and I are long distance walkers. We used to do a lot more back then. I'd get back into it, but one of the things we would do is if you look at the Lexington map, there's an east to west blue line. I think it's marked EP in some areas, but that's not actually what it stands for. It's the Minuteman Bikeway, or rail trail. Or bikeway, I think it used to be a rail line. And what you do is you could park in the center of town in a paid lot, because it's a tourist town in the summer. They have a central parking lot. And we'd get out and walk west every few weeks. We'd probably go twice a month and go to other places the rest of the month. And I think one time we went as far as Billerica from here and back. And every time we went further and further. And so you get to as far as you think you can go with just enough reserve energy to get back. And it's kind of like, oh, I've gone in a straight line and now I need to go all the way back and see all the same things I just saw. One day we were on it though, we saw this little memorial like park bench on the side. And there's a little sign that said something like AB or AG or something like that, or A path or something. And we said, oh, next time we're here, we'll check that out. And then when we were there, we did. And it went behind some hedgerow and down a slope and onto some wetland with some bog boards and puncheons. And you came up in the neighborhood. And right in the neighborhood, they had signs. You just keep following the path. And we didn't know where we were going. It was just taking us wherever we wanted to. You start crossing like water department lands, through schools, through farms that various organizations have bought to preserve the field, like nice places where they have like stone benches you can sit on and have a picnic lunch. It just continues and continues and continues around. And I think the first one we did was like 3 hours to do if you walked at moderate pace. One time we came back to the lot and we noticed that, hey, actually they have another one that starts in the same place. We did that one, that was like 4 hours. So it formed a figure eight. So if you really want to just walk all day, you could just keep walking these loops. If you just want to walk in a straight line, you could do that. If you just want a small loop, you could pick it out. So we realized that we were in a design system because they branded across Lexington. That means accessing conservation, recreation, open space, schools, and streets. And you can see on this grid here, all these blue lines are these what they call routes or paths. It's a mix of walking through these lands and properties, but also using the streets where you need to get a connection from one to the other. Um, they're labeled like you'll have like the A route, but sometimes the A and the G will overlap. So then it becomes like the AG or the AE or the AB. And they have points of interest marked there and right, obviously little numbers, but it's a really fun system for people who like to get out and walk around or get out in the nature. There's a lot of people out there doing it. You'll see people having picnics, people walking their dogs, people with strollers with their kids on these paths if they're, fairly smooth enough to do that. They're all different, it's different challenges and different ones. It's a fun time. Like I said, it tends to go past parking areas. Depending on which one you're on, you might pass by a restaurant or a convenience store or like a coffee shop. When I moved back to Kingston, I said, we have all these lands, but we don't even have parking lots for a lot of them. And so accessibility is an issue, but then there's enough of them, I thought we should be able to create something comparable that people could use to get out and, walk and go from one to the other. I came in, I proposed the idea to Matt, and actually I sent it in as part of the open space committee at the time and had a public meeting that I couldn't attend, where they were asking for the public to give feedback or ideas to the open space plan. So I said, I think we need a connected trail system. Chairman of this committee at the time said he loved the idea. We can probably integrate it with the Bay Circuit Trail, potentially get government grants or whatever. I joined this committee. Matt and I talked to Valerie Massard, the town planner. She has a lot of resources. I think she believes in it. Doing something like this. It's something Lexington has been working on this for at least 20 or 30 years. It's a work in progress. I don't know there's much expense. You will see these little metal signs that they can put on existing street signs or trees or whatever. They've now been putting out, last time I was there, QR codes, points of interest. Like I said, you're not paving a new road for this. You're connecting existing trails, sometimes creating a spur maybe to get to a particular place, but it's volunteer work. I don't know that they spend a ton of money on it. There's obviously some communication expense. I don't know if they use an agency to create the logos and all that, but most of that work is done and done, so they want to redo it. But it's a good system. I figured we could do this here in Kingston. And just a couple of notes. Matt said he I think wanted to do if you look at like the southern eighth or quarter of the town, 44 south, maybe a little north of there, you have a lot of properties. There's also some unknowns with regard to what will happen with the Sacred Heart High School. I think one of the developers who was looking at it said, we're going to build townhouses and apartments, but it's not going to consume that huge property that's there entirely. It would be open spaces there. I think Matt was thinking, I don't recall if he said it, but maybe there's a way to integrate some of the systems through there. So I'm not really focused on that. The thing I was looking at, if you look at the northwest corner of town, we were over at the, if you consider where the middle school is, you've got a parking lot. You can get into Cranberry Watershed. I know that it does go out to Grove Street. I think Matt said there's some problems there. But if you could make that work, you could go from there down to the back entrance on the Henrik property, which I know there's a neighbor there who doesn't like the fact there's an easement there. However, you could come out on West Street, you could go up West Street. There's other properties there, but you can maybe head up the Silver Lake Sanctuary, come back down. You've got the Bay Circuit path right through there. You can get back to your parking lot. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably the most obvious one in looking at some of this today. There's some opportunities sort of centrally. Between you've got the Sampson Park all the way up through Blackwater and all that. So I think there's a lot of things that can be done, but the trick is getting out and making sure that the roads are walkable and they're not too dangerous. Harding's Way and South Street are the kind of twisty, turny roads that, at least on Harding's Way, I know they've had a number of accidents. I wouldn't want to be walking on those roads when they're slippery for drivers. So I don't really consider that to be like the kind of prime choices. But sidewalk roads or roads that hardly get any traffic or that are wide or just have a little bit of 2 feet that's kind of mowed down can work. They've talked about putting in a path for part of Lake Street. I think that'd be great. So I think that we've got a lot of property right there as it is. So this is really what it gets down to, is kind of planning it on a map and then getting out there in a car and, you know, finding I mean, I've never even been to the Silver Lake Sanctuary. I don't go to Trip Hammer Park because it doesn't like it's easy to get in there and park. So those are like things, okay, we got it. That's why I have the inventory of the properties is, what have I not seen? And I've got to get out there and have a look at it. Where are the problems at? Well, some of them don't have parking lots, or they don't have the trails, or, just considering whether they make sense to include it on this. Callista, yeah, which I think is this, the green star on this tall map here, existing mapped property. Near the water, might be. I think it's that way.
It looks that way.
Yeah, you basically, it's on a dead end,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to walk for 5-10 minutes from Main Street just to go down, walk through that park, and there's nothing else to connect to. Looks like the terminus of the Bay Circuit Trail might be just beyond it. I don't know if there's any way through there. When I've been down there, it's been a little too wet near the water to get close enough to know.
I think Bay Circuit continues past Kingston in both directions. I just included what was on.
Yeah, it looks like that's the Bay Circuit Trail. 'Cause I know-
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it like kind of just dead ends there. So I don't know if that's a mistake or if it's a spur.
No, that is the end. So if you go
that
down
is the
into
end.
Bay Farm, there's a sign that says, "And you've reached the end."
Really?
of Bay Farm or of Bay Circuit.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's actually how I learned about Bay Circuit. I was like,
Okay.
what is this thing?
That's how I learned about it too. I saw that little sign and I was like, what does this sign mean?
Right.
Yeah.
The end of what? Okay.
And it actually cuts a lot of through Silver Lake Sanctuary. There's a big chunk of Bay Circuit Trail in there too.
Yeah, this map is really helpful.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very, very good.
It's really great.
So I've been relying on this one, but there's not enough street detail.
Right.
This
Yeah.
one it's a little bit more clear.
I realized I forgot to put a scale bar on one of that. Sorry. Yeah, I was sort of thinking with these and what Keith and I were sort of thinking was like you all would take these home and like think about we'll talk today obviously about like Keith already included some areas of interest for on his end what he's already been thinking about, but you guys can take these home and take a look at them and start thinking about which roads are safe to walk on or what areas would be helpful to explore, and then questions about property ownership or anything like that, Matt and I can help with.
Well, the first thing that jumps out is just the lack of trails that we have that are, and
Yeah.
well, I'm not saying that maybe there's more, but they're just on a map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you compare it to Lexington, and it's just like,
Right.
wow, what a nice job Lexington does.
Some of that's just actually a paved road or sidewalk, but if they have a property, they put a footpath through it.
Yeah.
Right.
And it works so well. And the only, other than mucky areas, there's only 2 areas where the ground or the elevation rises on the ones that I went on. And they don't go up very far. So it's not like here, like Camp Nikon, Monks Hill, it's a bit of a rise through there. So a few other towns areas of towns that are hilly. So it's a very pleasant walk on those. They might have some that are more challenging, but I think, have that kind of opportunity where we can offer both sort of flat systems or flat paths or routes, and then we could do more challenging ones.
Cool.
Yeah, I like that.
That's great.
And I think there are definitely more trails in Kingston than what are included there. So what the dots mean on the open space and recreation properties map, the up and down one, if it says that, so there's a point on every Kingston conservation owned property. And if sorry, I didn't print one for myself,
Oh, yeah.
but so if it says that the trail is existing, that means that there is like an established and well-marked trail system.
Yeah.
We just don't have the like GPS, like the line data for it. No access allowed means no public access, recreation access permitted on that property, whereas no access for now means like you could get on there, we just don't have a parking lot, or we don't have trails, or we don't have like a way for the public to get in. And then unmarked, unmapped means sort of like people go on there and probably have paths, but like we don't know where they are. Like that's what I put for Heinrich.
Yeah.
Because like there are probably paths on there, but we don't know what they are. So I was sort of trying to get at like assessing what we do and do
Where's-
not
where's
know.
Heinrich?
Heinrich is that
Yeah,
guy.
right, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Georgie, what are the red dots? Where are they? I'm trying to, that we don't have access to?
There's only two of them. Wait, I can show you. I think those are they were
On the east side of
granted from
town.
conservation restriction.
Are they like bird sanctuaries or something?
Yeah, it was more of a like land protection or wellhead protection kind of zone where they're not gonna where we can't really put
Uh,
trails.
I'm trying to place this one off of Summer Street, but,
One of the nook there, yeah, me too, I'm trying to, that's one I can't
Right.
figure either.
oh, is that part of the swamp maybe? Blackwater?
What are you talking
Must be Blackwater Swamp
Part
itself
of the-
proper.
The one left of Summer Street.
This
Yeah,
guy.
it's gotta be,
Let's
Oh, no, sorry, left this one over here.
yeah, I think that's what it is.
let's see if we can find it. Is it this time? Right here?
Yes, it looks like it.
It doesn't really give me a lot of information, but this is that parcel.
That's it.
Huh.
Municipal / vacant.
Yeah, that's weird. That's
Um,
strange. Because it's a big hill, so I understand why
Yeah.
behind all those houses it just drops into the swamp, but all right. Now, what about the one in the Nook?
That looks like it's over
You have
here.
to like it's kind of not that big.
What is a question? The map doesn't really show
Yeah.
Jones River the way it probably actually is through there, right?
Right.
Because
No.
that's technically the town harbor, as everyone likes to call
Yeah.
it, the Adina.
Yeah.
And there could be some little wedge of land on either side of the river that's kind of an off limits thing.
Yeah, I think this Grandview Ave one that we're looking at, it said some like it's
Oh.
wet and it was just
You know where
Ah.
Fort Mulligan's Landing is?
yeah.
I think across the river from the raft they have tied up there. I
Mhm.
think there's a bird sanctuary in those reeds.
Okay.
That's cool.
All
Cool.
right.
Boo.
Yeah, yeah.
Birds.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody wants to go walking in there.
Yeah, I thought that would sort of be helpful for if we're thinking about where can we add trails or where can we, put things in. But obviously if you guys know the ownership and the properties better than I do. So any errors on here, let me know.
No, I think it's great. I mean, there are a couple of like there are some paths over here, like that, the boardwalk there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a few things that are missing that we
Right.
could check out at some point, but
Yeah, I mean, I think this map, I think makes it, you can start to see areas where you could do one or two or three loops through. And then as either more properties are acquired or donated or whatever happens, or roads get sidewalks, if they're previously too much of a challenge, you've got new opportunities to just continue branching this thing out. I mean, the important thing is that you want primarily somewhere in the systems will be isolated first. They won't be super networked like Lexington's are now. There needs to be someplace to park. Right now, there'll be great people who live in those areas, but there's not parking. You're not going to walk a long way just to get into another place to walk. And then, of course, the thing for a lot of people are, what's the access for things like public restrooms? Through some of the ones that Lexington has, there are stores and restaurants along the way, at least centrally in town. Beyond that, I don't know what they do, but it's nature, so it's not supposed to be super built up.
true enough.
You have to be in the wilderness.
Yeah, and the other thing is, of course, we have to think about just the fact that if you're going to enter a property, to use just the property on its own, how you use it and how you travel through it and return is very different than how you might if you're doing something like this, whereas you're entering on one side, coming out another. And that means we might need a spur trail to a road, or, if the property has its own loop through it, we might need more of a straight line just to get in one side, get out the other. These ones in Lexington, obviously you don't have to just keep moving. You can just say, hey, I like this property. Path goes a different way over here. I'm just going to check it out and come back, then continue on. But some people just want to stay, like 3 hours is already enough for them. And if it takes 3 hours to complete it, they don't want to do, little additional loops and things. So it's a good thing to just consider that there might be some, even in a place where there's already trails, there might need to be another little trailer path just to create the right entry or exit or shortcut.
Yeah, you can sort of see that here where they, take the sort of the long way around the 23, the Willard's Woods up here, and people could easily cut across or get kind of confused. It looks like there's quite a network of paths in there. So yeah,
And everything's pretty well marked
that's
there.
great.
And I would imagine that if people discover it the same way that I did, eventually you just realize, especially with all the QR codes, you can probably just get this map up on your phone.
Yeah,
So you won't get lost.
that makes a big difference.
And I think, some of the things you would need for this are things that over the years we can get from, certainly from CPC, but even the Sampson Fund. A handful of markers, or maybe a box of them to do one of these routes. You go to Sampson Fund every year, every other year, when you've got a new one established, and say, and we need to buy these, labeled little triangles or diamonds that we can bolt onto the street signs, or nail onto some of the, publicly owned trees or whatever, or a little signpost to help people not get lost. The hall property is going to be tough because we can't really expand in there. But it would be nice, the wish list thing would be to have what do they call it, like a sky bridge over the MBTA line.
Well, there is this crazy loophole, but I don't think it's. So that at one point, a bunch of years ago, we were trying to connect Brookdale Street with a back way for where the fire station is, because there was this problem, a concern over there was an incident at Pottle Street. They got to go all the way around in the timing, and that property there does abut the railroad system that the MBTA owns, and we do have access along that. The only problem is that one of the abutters on Brookdale Street has encroached on all that, and we were considering pursuing that, and it ended up being against legal counsel advised us against doing that because of just the cost. And
So if there's a real bad traffic jam, someone gets hurt out on the fields, they have to call in a helicopter.
theoretically, but
It might not rise to a medevac situation.
Right. Well, my point was that there is technically access longitudinally along the railroad system to get from the existing mapped conservation trails on Pottle that we walked to Brookdale Street. And theoretically, that could then go down Brookdale Street to Winthrop Street, loop into the Blackwater trails. Now, there's no sidewalks along that. But then you could go back up Winthrop Street to Summer Street, which there is sidewalks, back down to Pottle Street, which there are sidewalks, and do a big giant loop there. But we would have to go through the MBTA and potentially. So that now that I'm thinking about it, so the MBTA has a certain amount of. So they have the fencing, but they own, I think, 15 feet on either side of the fences as well. Just for whatever, by eminent domain, they took it, I believe, or something like that. And we could traverse that, but again, that butters have all their junkyard there.
Well,
I mean, this is a stretch.
there is a little road, like a single lane off of Grove, which is a series of easements, because it's never an official road, but they have had house lots. you own like your frontage or whatever, right? And they all share it, and in order to get to the end, you have to go over the MBTA, and they have the safety gate thing, whatever that's called.
Yeah.
It comes down,
Yeah.
and the lights and the bells. And I'm sure in their case, they had to build that, but if you said, hey, look, we need an emergency egress or a way for emergency services to get onto those fields. We said something to the effect of, well, we're not going to use as a entry for main traffic or anything to the parking lot. Somebody on foot could just walk right through. It's not like the track's electrified.
Right.
Yeah,
The-
I don't know, just,
Oh, sorry.
no, just something fun to think about.
Yeah.
Well, technically, it's not legal to cross the tracks.
Yeah, this
Oh, yeah.
would be along the fencing, like.
Like we can't encourage or point people across the tracks. There is like a liability because that's it. That's the issue on if you look at the Bay Circuit Trail, trying to get it off Grove Street and bring it into, this like sort of connected area. There's first of all wetlands to traverse, and then also right now, if you take the Bay Circuit Trail along Grove Street, there's a bridge across the train tracks.
Right.
Whereas if we tried to go through these like conservation properties, people would have to cross the track. So I don't know if you remember at the last meeting, I had mentioned that Matt and I had talked to the Bay Circuit Trail coordinator about potentially trying to move BCT off of Grove Street there, and that was like the main goal. So it's like the only problem with the rail lines is like it. We can't put like a trail sign being like cross. It's like liability.
I know that the current chair of the Conservation Commission and I have talked about it. He was in favor of doing something like that. When you think about it, not only do you have Pottle Street and that gets you down to Summer,
Right.
but you have Hall, which is a beautiful little spot. If you can get over that, you can get to Bates Pond. If you can get to there, you can eventually get your way to Grove, and that can get you to Henrik or the Cranberry Watershed.
Right.
Or you can just go over to Wapping and make your way down to Trip Hammer Park, and maybe there's some kind of access into Sampson. But that
That would be
crossing the line, the rail line safely becomes one of the biggest obstacles this whole system really has. Because that thing goes right through town in such a way that, you need, it just subdivides the town. 35% of it above it and the rest of it below it.
Is it, so I just pulled this base map off of like the GIS. So is the rail line this right here?
I think so.
Like right under Hull?
It's on this one.
Yeah.
And I think,
Okay.
Yeah,
yes, I think you're right.
it's dotted on
That
that. on this
dotted
one.
line there. Yeah.
Just keep in mind when you're looking at this, it
Oh,
doesn't include
oh,
all the other
yeah.
town properties I mean,
Yeah,
some of them you want to keep secure,
sure. I
but
know I didn't include schools on here, which I should have.
yeah, when I was talking to somebody about it who's in favor of it, there was a concern that somebody, let's just say, a dangerous person could use those trails to get to the side of the school where recess happens or something.
Sure.
However, Lexington doesn't even, you walk right up past the building. Well, by where the kids have like a springtime garden that they do. So if you're walking in the summer, you see all the plants that haven't been watered in 2 months.
Oh, no.
And so it's right up by the building, and then recess happens right out around the corner, but you're walking up a hill into the trees and over a stone wall and down to a farm field.
There's lots to think about.
Yeah.
It's good.
And the other thing they only had a very small piece of it on the systems I walked on. They had some little stream or river in town, and they got you on that for a while, and it was like a stone dust path, through the woods, and then it came out. So it was like it was a condo with like townhouses or something, and you can walk along the stream just right past their kind of like backyards. But it's just nice to be able to walk beside water for half a mile or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And our river is even better.
Of course.
Definitely.
All right, anything else? Good.
Something to think about.
Oh,
Yeah.
lots to think about.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we can't do much until we get rid of 3 or 4 feet of snow through the properties.
Well, I think if everyone just, took these home and thought about
Yeah.
it for a while, then we can start thinking about, where are the target areas to go?
Yeah.
But what are the challenges? Something might look really good on paper, and then as soon as you start talking to somebody, like whether it be the planner, conservation agent, anyone, oh, well, there's an issue there. You might want to start with us first.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah. And what's next?
Trail work inventory spreadsheet, which I assume doesn't have any updates because of the weather.
No.
No.
I do have a small update,
Right.
Great.
which is just that I added columns for our newest members. Let's see if I can get them
Thank you.
efficiently. Here you go. So if you guys can someday if we can figure out how to get the spreadsheet to be editable,
Right.
then you can add notes here if you need to. I also didn't know if it would be helpful. I didn't want to add too many things to this that would be more for like my use or for the department's use, but I didn't know if it would be helpful to include like some kind of summary basically of what was in this map of like what do we have trail maps for? I don't know if there's interest from you guys or if I should keep that list separate.
I think somewhere we should list it, right? So that we know where we still need to add some trail maps.
I think there's a column header for what the trail, see where it says trails? It might be it.
Oh, yeah, it says yes,
So it's just a commentary.
unmarked,
Okay.
yeah.
And it says whether it makes sense to put it in the system that we just discussed.
Right.
'Cause
Right.
from my perspective, having been to Calista Farm twice, I don't see it yet, but I would hate to eliminate it because it is a beautiful property. I just haven't seen a way through it. And it's kind of really off the beaten path, I guess, not
Yeah.
beaten path, but it's a little far off the road, assuming you actually wanted to walk down Main Street with all the noise and everything. But if you were doing that, I wouldn't want to spur off to go down there just to come back up the hill and continue on my way.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you.
That was the only thing I added.
Does anyone have anything for open forum? No. All right. Well, then the next thing would be future meetings. Are we going to do it in a month?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
All right. Do you know what's that? Is it on here? Is that
I would
April
just
6th?
say if we could keep this maybe as an agenda item, just to touch upon if anyone has any ideas or has gone out and looked at anything.
Yeah.
Would you like me to, so I took plan work day off the agenda for now, because you can't really go out there. Would you guys like me to add it back in so we can at least talk about it?
Yeah, maybe we put in the last
you might as well.
Saturday before our next meeting or something, be optimistic that,
Oh,
You think we're gonna melt that much?
I think by the end of next week, I think most of this is gonna be gone by the end of next week.
Well, we've got, tomorrow's be like 47. We got a bunch of days in the 50s, and I think we're gonna hit 60 or 61.
With some rain, so.
Rain, yeah.
Stuff away.
I'm just looking for some roots, including my own. My gutter's already bent from the ice since I'm here.
oh no.
So let's put in
Alright.
something for, the last Saturday of April.
Sure, the 28th. Do we have an idea of where we would want to go for that?
For April?
Oh, I mean, for
Not-
March, sorry, March. Last Saturday in March.
Oh, yeah, I could do that.
Well, I'd say I don't, just in case there is some snow on the ground, I don't think cleanup makes sense. I think going back maybe to the Henrik, where we can potentially cut some of the existing brush that overwintered and cut through those down trees. You could do that with half a foot of snow on the ground. If you have good boots on, you don't even notice it.
Wherever we go, it's gonna be wet.
Yep.
Yeah,
So you just gotta factor in,
Yeah.
the low lying areas, So,
We also haven't had a chance to go out and go from like the south of that property. Like, remember we talked about
right, off of.
taking that, what is it, the walking road
Yeah,
easement, taking
yeah.
that up and seeing what we could see. So we could also, if we had another recon day in us, start from there and try to see what's in that section of property as well.
I'd be willing to
Yeah.
just bring a cup of coffee and put on some knee-high boots or whatever and
Yeah.
take a chance and see what we find.
And if there is snow on the ground, it could be a good opportunity to see other people's footprints that are walking around, or game trails, or like anything that might help us establish
Wasn't it you?
a trail. I don't know.
Great.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
All right,
When I
well, we'll
was
keep
taking
that
the,
and hope everything melts in the meantime.
Yes,
So we're
being
gonna-
optimistic here.
we're gonna
Yeah.
talk about. I'll send up a follow-up email and plan an email to get us closer. But we're talking about Workday, the 28th of March meeting at the south of Henrik property.
Yes.
Heinrich? How do you pronounce that?
Who knows?
Development documents two different ways.
Oh no.
I say Heinrich, but I don't, Henrik.
Heinrich too.
Heinrich.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What do I know?
Heinrich. I mean, you live closest, so I feel like I trust it. Trust you.
There's a family that is, I think, the Heinrich family
Right.
that lives right in that neighborhood, that area.
You know, the other thing to consider, not that we could do something on a work day with this, but we can plan a work day to do it, but it won't happen until we have something made, is that we need we either need to move the sign that's at the hall property, or we need to get a kiosk built or figure out how to do that ourselves. Because nobody's gonna use that property. They don't know they can park there and walk through around the gate, head down.
Yeah,
I like it in there. It's a nice little spot.
it is nice,
Um,
especially with sports season starting up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if
Drop
Matt
the kids at
or
soccer, go
anyone,
for a walk.
I know.
excuse me, ever looked into those little hiking signs?
I don't know. You asked me about that last time too, and I don't know if I ever got an answer on it. So I will follow up again
Is
on
that
that.
like
I
the
know
one
we
with
have-
the stick figure with the backpack on and
Yeah,
motion?
and I know we have
I think
other
I-
signs. I've seen them on some properties with like an arrow.
Okay. I think I've seen them rattling around the office, but I will double check with him.
Yeah, that's like if you had those metal fence posts, you can drive to the ground. You could bolt one of those at that gate, with an arrow.
Right, that's all
This
you need is
way-
something at that gate, right? If the gate's locked. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Let me just write that. Okay, then I'll let me do these remarks. If we're good, I can read these closing remarks.
Yep.
All right. The next meeting will be held Tuesday, April 6th, 2026, starting at 5:45 p.m. The time is now 6:28. Will a member make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Great. I will do a roll call. Jada?
Aye.
Heath?
Aye.
Brian? Brian?
Aye.
Uh,
Yeah, I did. They must not have heard me.
Lauren? Excuse me, Lauren.
Hi.
All right, Megan, the motion passes and our meeting is closed.